Before you scroll, tell me this. Why has your energy felt different since last night, even if nothing around you changed? If that question hit you, stay right here. Something is shifting around you tonight, and the timing is too precise to ignore. Many chosen ones are feeling the same strange pull, like you're standing at the edge of a moment that doesn't fully make sense yet, but feels important in your spirit. You might notice small glitches, sudden thoughts that don't feel like your own, or moments where time feels off, and you're not imagining any of it. In this video, we will break down the 5 signs that show you're crossing into a new timeline, subtle changes in your intuition, your emotions, your awareness, and even the way people react to your presence. If you've been sensing a quiet shift in the background of your life, this message will help you understand exactly why it's happening now. Stay with me, because once you hear these signs, you'll realize your breakthrough has already begun. One of the clearest signs you're crossing into a new timeline is when you start experiencing brief mental flashes that feel strangely familiar, even though they haven't happened yet. These moments don't appear like daydreams or fantasies. You don't create them. They arrive suddenly, almost like a quick preview of a chapter you haven't lived, but somehow already recognize. These flashes usually last only a few seconds, a place you've never been, a conversation you haven't had, a version of yourself you haven't stepped into. What makes them powerful is the emotional pull behind them. You feel a sense of this is real, even though your logical mind can't explain it. For example, you might suddenly see yourself working somewhere new, meeting someone who feels important, or standing in an environment that feels strangely comforting. Later, when your real life lines up with that moment, maybe weeks or months later, you realize you saw a glimpse of your future self aligning with your new path. These flashes aren't accidents. They're signs that your intuition is syncing with a higher timeline, revealing little hints of where you're headed. When these moments appear, pay attention. They're guiding you toward the version of your life you're about to step into. Another sign you're shifting timelines is when your body starts asking for things it never cared about before, new foods, unusual flavors, or specific scents you never paid attention to. These cravings often show up out of nowhere. One day you're neutral about something, and the next day your body is acting like it needs it. This happens because your physical body adjusts faster than your conscious mind. When you move into a higher timeline, your energy frequency changes first, and your body tries to match that shift through what it wants, absorbs, and responds to. Maybe you suddenly want lighter foods, herbal teas, fruits, or something earthy. Or you crave the smell of rain, fresh soil, incense, citrus, or even a perfume you've never used. These cravings aren't random. They're signals that your inner system is recalibrating. For example, someone shifting into a more grounded timeline may suddenly crave warm, calming scents like cinnamon or sandalwood. Another person moving into a creative timeline might notice a pull toward bright, energizing smells like citrus or mint. Your body knows before your mind does. These cravings are simply your system aligning itself with the new version of you that's forming, quietly preparing you for a timeline where your energy and lifestyle evolve in ways you might not fully understand yet. One of the strangest signs you're crossing into a new timeline is the sudden distortion of time. You might notice that certain hours vanish without explanation, or moments feel unusually long even though only minutes have passed. This isn't poor focus or stress. It's your internal clock readjusting as your energy steps out of its old rhythm. When timelines shift, your awareness no longer matches the pace of your previous reality. That's why some days feel incredibly fast, as if life is pushing you forward, while other moments feel slowed down, giving you space to catch up emotionally or mentally. Neither is a mistake. It's your energy syncing with a new path. For example, you may sit down to do something simple, and suddenly an entire hour is gone, but you can't point to anything specific you did. Or you might experience the opposite. A short moment, like a walk to the kitchen, feels unusually stretched, almost like you stepped outside of normal time for a second. These distortions appear when your spirit is moving quicker than your physical timeline can adjust. It's similar to shifting gears in a car. The engine moves first, and the rest of the system follows. When you notice time acting strange, it's a sign that your life is preparing to align with a faster, clearer, more purposeful timeline. It means you're getting closer to the version of yourself that's waiting ahead. A powerful sign of timeline shifting is when your surroundings briefly feel unfamiliar, even if you've seen them 1,000 times. It could be a room in your home, a street you walk daily, or an object you use all the time. For a split second, you look at it and feel a strange sense of distance, like you're seeing it for the first time. This moment isn't confusion, it's your awareness adjusting faster than your environment. When your energy shifts into a new timeline, your senses momentarily stop matching the memory of how things used to feel. The result is a quick disconnect, where your mind pauses and says, "Wait, is this the same place?" These moments often happen quietly. You walk into your living room, and it feels oddly unfamiliar. You pick up your phone, and it feels different in your hand. You glance in the mirror, and don't immediately recognize your own expression. This happens because you're transitioning into a timeline where your perception, identity, and emotional frequency are different from before. Your environment hasn't changed, you have. Think of it like shifting into a higher version of yourself, and your brain is taking a few seconds to update the software of how you see your world. These brief glitches are not mistakes. They're confirmations that you're stepping into a reality where your awareness is sharper, your energy is stronger, and your sense of self is evolving. One of the most surprising signs that you're crossing into a new timeline is the sudden appearance of confidence that doesn't match your past behavior. It's not tied to a compliment, an achievement, or external validation. It simply rises within you, quietly but powerfully, like your spirit just remembered who you really are. This kind of confidence isn't loud or arrogant. It feels calm, steady, and strangely natural. You may notice yourself speaking up where you used to stay silent, trusting your instincts without second-guessing, or feeling less affected by criticism or negativity. It almost feels like your inner voice upgraded overnight. These moments happen because your new timeline requires a stronger version of you, and your energy begins adjusting before your mind understands the shift. It's like stepping into new shoes that already fit, even though you never wore them before. For example, you might suddenly feel sure about a decision you've been avoiding for months. Or you stop apologizing unnecessarily. Or you realize you feel more grounded in your body and more certain about your direction. This unexpected rise in confidence is a sign that your new timeline aligns with a version of you who is more self-assured, resilient, and ready for growth. It means the breakthrough has already started, and you're stepping into it naturally. When you're crossing into a new timeline, you may suddenly feel the need to clean your space, reorganize furniture, or get rid of items you've held onto for years. What makes this sign unique is that it doesn't come from logic, it comes from your energy. You're not doing it because the place looks messy, you're doing it because something inside you feels done with the old atmosphere. This urge often appears out of nowhere. You might be sitting calmly one moment, and the next you're pulling clothes out of a closet, throwing away old papers, or moving objects around until the space feels right. Even items that once felt meaningful can suddenly feel heavy or unnecessary. This happens because your environment holds energy from past versions of you. As you shift into a higher timeline, your spirit pushes you to clear out anything that carries an outdated emotional imprint. You're not just cleaning, you're making room for a new identity and new experiences. For example, you may feel the need to change your workspace, update your room, switch your phone wallpaper, or remove items connected to old habits or past relationships. This instinct is your inner guidance preparing your physical space to match the new path your spirit is stepping into. When the urge appears, follow it. It's a powerful sign of alignment. One of the most unexpected signs you're crossing into a new timeline is the sudden shift in how people respond to you. Their behavior changes even though you haven't said or done anything unusual. This happens because your energy is evolving and others sense that shift before you fully recognize it yourself. You may notice people looking at you longer, treating you with more respect, or becoming unusually curious about you. Some might become nervous or quiet around you without understanding why. Others may suddenly open up to you, trust you faster, or feel drawn to your presence. These reactions aren't random, they're responses to your new frequency. When your inner energy upgrades, it affects the way your aura feels to others. Some people will feel safe and inspired around you, while others may feel unsettled because your growth highlights their stagnation. For example, someone who normally ignores you might suddenly be extra kind or attentive. Or a person who talks over you may start listening more carefully. Even strangers may smile at you, move aside for you, or initiate small conversations. These shifts are signs that your vibration no longer matches the old timeline. Your presence carries a new strength and clarity that people can sense instantly, even before you can explain it. It's confirmation that you're stepping into a more aligned version of yourself. As you move into a new timeline, your senses begin tuning themselves to a different energetic frequency, and one of the first places you'll notice this is through sound. Suddenly, everyday noises may feel louder, sharper, or more distracting than usual. At the same time, silence may feel deeper or unusually comforting, almost like your mind is craving a quieter space to adjust. This shift doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. It means your awareness is expanding. Your nervous system becomes more alert because your energy is recalibrating to match new surroundings and new experiences that your spirit is preparing for. For example, you might feel irritated by sounds you once ignored, ticking clocks, phone notifications, distant chatter, or traffic outside. On the other hand, quiet moments might feel more meaningful than ever, giving you clarity or emotional relief you didn't expect. These experiences happen because your inner world is becoming more sensitive to anything that disrupts your new alignment. Your system starts filtering out noise, not just physical noise, but emotional and mental noise too. This heightened sensitivity is a sign of spiritual refinement, not weakness. When you notice this shift, trust it. It's your spirit signaling that you're entering a timeline where peace, awareness, and clarity matter more than ever. Another sign you're stepping into a new timeline is when ordinary tasks start to feel strangely disconnected from time. You might start something small, replying to a message, washing a cup, scrolling briefly, and suddenly realize far more or far less time has passed than you expected. It's not forgetfulness. It's a shift in how your awareness is syncing with your new energetic path. When your frequency changes, your mind doesn't process time the same way. Your attention gets pulled into moments more deeply or releases from them more quickly, depending on what aligns with your new direction. As a result, you may experience time slips, where minutes vanish or stretch without any logical explanation. For example, you may sit down to organize something for 2 minutes, and suddenly it's been half an hour, yet it didn't feel long at all. Or you check the clock expecting hours to have passed, only to see that barely 10 minutes have gone by. These distortions usually appear during quiet, repetitive, or emotionally neutral tasks where your mind is less attached. These moments happen because your inner energy is moving faster than your physical timeline can keep up with. Your spirit is already aligning with what's ahead, and your sense of time adjusts to support that transition. When you notice these shifts, take them as confirmation. Your life is preparing to move in a new direction, and your inner self is already stepping into it. As you shift into a new timeline, you may notice moments where your voice feels unfamiliar, not in sound, but in energy. It's as if the words coming out of your mouth don't fully match the version of you that used to speak them. This isn't discomfort or anxiety. It's your identity adjusting faster than your expression can catch up. You might hear yourself say something and think, "Why did I phrase it like that?" Or you speak with more clarity, calmness, or authority than you expected, and it surprises you. Sometimes, you may even pause mid-sentence because your voice feels slightly separate, like you're observing yourself from a step higher than your old identity. This happens because your inner self is evolving and your communication style is shifting to match your new timeline. Your tone becomes steadier. Your words carry more intention. You feel less pressure to explain yourself and more confidence in speaking the truth of what you feel. For example, you might unexpectedly express a boundary with ease, speak more honestly without overthinking, or communicate with a new kind of emotional maturity that wasn't there before. This momentary disconnection is actually alignment, your spirit stepping into a clearer, stronger way of expressing itself. It's a sign that the old version of you is fading and the new timeline version is beginning to take the lead. A strong sign that you're crossing into a new timeline is when certain memories from your past suddenly return, not to hurt you, but to reveal something you never noticed before. These memories don't come back randomly. They rise because your new level of awareness is finally ready to understand them in a deeper, more mature way. Maybe you remember a moment from childhood, an old friendship, or a situation that once confused you, but this time it feels different. You see the truth behind it. You understand the lesson you missed. You recognize the purpose it served in shaping who you are now. For example, a memory that once felt painful might suddenly feel empowering because you now realize how much strength it gave you. Or a moment you once overlooked now stands out as a turning point you didn't recognize at the time. Even simple memories, like a conversation, a place, or a decision, can suddenly appear with new emotional clarity. This happens because you're entering a timeline where your perspective is expanding. You're no longer reacting to life, you're understanding it. Your mind is connecting dots that your past self couldn't connect. When these old memories return with new meaning, it's a sign that your spirit is closing old cycles properly, clearing the emotional weight and making space for the next version of your life. As you shift into a new timeline, you may begin feeling a subtle but comforting sense that you're not moving through life alone. It's not fear, and it's not imagination. It's a quiet awareness that something is supporting you, nudging you, or directing your steps more intentionally than before. This feeling often shows up during moments of uncertainty or transition. You might be thinking about a decision, feeling anxious, or questioning your path, and suddenly there's a calmness that settles in, almost like an invisible reassurance saying, "You're on the right track." It's a guidance you can't logically explain, but it feels real, familiar, and protective. You may notice this guidance through small signs. A thought that comes at the perfect moment. An inner voice telling you to wait or move. A sudden wave of peace in a stressful situation. Or a sense that you're being pulled away from something not meant for you. This isn't random. It's the influence of your higher self becoming stronger as you shift into a timeline that aligns more closely with your true purpose. Your intuition sharpens, and your sensitivity to subtle guidance increases. This presence doesn't take over your choices, it simply supports them. It helps you feel safer, more grounded, and more trusting of the direction you're moving toward. When you sense this quiet guidance, take it as confirmation that you're growing into a version of yourself that is more aligned, more aware, and more connected to the path meant for you. When you're crossing into a new timeline, you may suddenly crave more alone time than usual, not because you're sad, angry, or isolating yourself, but because your spirit needs space to adjust. This desire feels natural, almost peaceful, like your mind is asking for a quiet room so it can reorganize without noise or distraction. Even if you normally enjoy being around people, you might notice yourself turning down invitations, stepping away from conversations faster, or preferring silence over social interaction. This shift isn't about avoiding others, it's about reconnecting with yourself on a deeper level. During timeline transitions, your energy becomes highly sensitive. Too many voices, opinions, or emotions from other people can feel overwhelming. Your inner world becomes louder than your outer world, so solitude feels like the only place where everything makes sense. For example, you may find comfort in simple moments alone, sitting on your bed, going for a walk, cleaning, journaling, or just being quiet without purpose. These moments help you process the new clarity, new emotions, and new inner strength rising within you. This pull towards solitude means your spirit is preparing you for what's ahead. You're shedding old influences, resetting your energy, and creating space for the next version of your life. It's not withdrawal, it's alignment. A clear sign you're stepping into a new timeline is when specific songs, numbers, or names start repeating so consistently that it feels intentional. These patterns don't appear because you're looking for them, they show up on their own, at moments when your mind is quiet enough to notice the message behind them. You may hear the same song everywhere you go, even if it's not new or trending. Or a certain number follows you, 111, 222, 444, or even a random sequence that keeps popping up on receipts, clocks, license plates, and notifications. Sometimes it's a name, someone you don't talk to anymore, or someone you haven't met yet, appearing repeatedly in conversations, online posts, or even in your dreams. These repetitions are not coincidences. They show up because your intuition is becoming sharper and your new timeline is trying to guide your attention towards something meaningful. Each pattern carries a subtle message: reassurance, warning, encouragement, or preparation. For example, hearing a specific song during a confusing moment might reassure you that you're on the right path. Seeing the same number repeatedly may signal alignment or a major shift approaching. A recurring name could hint that a person connected to your next chapter is entering or re-entering your life path soon. These signs act like breadcrumbs, gently leading you toward clarity. When these patterns intensify, take it as confirmation. Your new timeline is speaking to you, and your awareness is finally tuned enough to hear it. A powerful sign you're shifting timelines is when your environment suddenly feels too small for you, almost like you've mentally moved ahead, but your physical world hasn't caught up yet. This feeling doesn't come slowly. It hits all at once, often after a moment of clarity, an emotional release, or even a period of silence. You might wake up one morning and feel disconnected from the place you live, the routines you follow, or the lifestyle you once felt comfortable in. Nothing about your surroundings changed, you did. Your spirit has expanded into a version of you that no longer fits the old patterns, and your environment now feels like it belongs to a past chapter. For example, your room might suddenly feel cluttered or outdated. Your job may feel misaligned, even if nothing bad happened. Or you may realize a friend group no longer reflects your values. This shift isn't judgment, it's awareness. You've grown internally, and your outer world feels tight, like wearing clothes that no longer fit. It's your spirit telling you that a new chapter is forming, and you're being prepared for a reality that matches your evolved identity. When this feeling appears, don't ignore it. It means you're ready for expansion, alignment, and environments that support who you are becoming, not who you were before. A surprising sign you're shifting timelines is when people from your past suddenly reappear, not always physically, but in conversations, social media feeds, unexpected messages, or chance encounters. These moments feel strange because there's usually no logical reason for these people to show up again, yet they appear right when your energy is changing. It doesn't matter if the person was a friend, a classmate, a coworker, or someone you barely spoke to years ago. Their sudden presence symbolizes a bridge between your old timeline and the new one you're stepping into. They show up to close unfinished emotional loops, remind you of how far you've grown, or highlight patterns you've finally outgrown. For example, you might bump into someone you haven't seen since school, only to realize their life hasn't changed while yours is evolving rapidly. Or an old friend randomly messages you, and the conversation makes you aware of how differently you think now. Sometimes it's as simple as their name appearing repeatedly in your surroundings for no clear reason. These encounters aren't coincidences, they're energetic check-ins. They help you understand what version of yourself you're leaving behind and what new traits or lessons you're stepping into. When people from your past reappear during a transitional phase, it's a clear sign your timeline is shifting and your spirit is preparing you for the next stage. When you're transitioning into a new timeline, you may notice physical objects reacting in subtle, unusual ways. Things might fall without being touched, lights may flicker for a moment, or small items might shift positions even though you know you didn't move them. These events are brief, gentle, and often easy to dismiss, but they hold meaning. This happens because the energy around you is reorganizing itself. As your vibration changes, the frequency of your environment adjusts, creating tiny disruptions in physical space. It's similar to how air shifts when a storm is about to arrive, except this is an energetic shift within your personal reality. For example, a pen may roll off the table even though the surface is flat. A light in your room may flicker once when you're deep in thought. An object you placed somewhere may appear slightly off position the next time you look at it. These small movements aren't signs of danger or superstition. They're indicators that your energy field is stronger and more active than before. You're influencing your surroundings in subtle ways, and the physical world is responding to the frequency you're stepping into. When these events occur, treat them as confirmations, gentle reminders that your environment is adjusting to match the new version of you emerging. As you shift into a new timeline, your ability to read people becomes sharper and more accurate than ever before. You start recognizing someone's real intentions within seconds, not through their words, but through their energy, tone, body language, and the feeling you get in your spirit. It's like a filter has been removed, and you can finally see people for who they truly are. This isn't judgment or paranoia, it's heightened awareness. Your intuition becomes more sensitive because your new timeline requires better discernment. You're moving toward relationships, opportunities, and environments that match your growth, so your spirit naturally warns you when something or someone doesn't align. For example, you may instantly sense when someone is being fake, manipulative, or jealous, even if they're smiling on the surface. On the other hand, you'll quickly recognize genuine people, those who feel safe, uplifting, and honest. Conversations that once confused you now feel clear. Mixed signals become obvious. You sense the difference between someone's words and their energy. This shift helps you make faster, healthier decisions. You stop giving chances to the wrong people. You stop ignoring red flags. You become more protective of your peace. When you suddenly start seeing people's true intentions without effort, it's a sign you've stepped into a timeline where clarity, intuition, and self-respect guide your path. A powerful sign that you're crossing into a new timeline is when pieces of your childhood self suddenly return, not the pain, but the pure, unfiltered parts of you that adulthood pushed aside. You might feel a playful spark again, a sudden interest in an old hobby, or a creative urge you haven't felt in years. These moments appear unexpectedly, almost like your younger self is tapping your shoulder and saying, "Remember me." This isn't regression, it's restoration. Your new timeline is bringing back the qualities you were born with: imagination, curiosity, confidence, kindness, or boldness. These traits faded over time because of responsibilities, expectations, and experiences that shaped you. But as you shift into a more aligned path, your spirit reactivates the parts of you that were never meant to disappear. For example, you may feel like drawing again, writing stories, singing, fixing things, exploring nature, or simply being more playful and expressive. You may even speak more honestly, laugh more easily, or make decisions with a simplicity that feels refreshing, like the weight you've carried for years suddenly got lighter. These resurfacing traits appear because your new timeline requires authenticity. It's getting you back to the version of yourself that existed before fear, doubt, or overthinking got in the way. When you feel these parts of your childhood self waking up, it's a sign that you're becoming whole again, merging who you were, who you are, and who you're meant to be. One of the strongest signs you're crossing into a new timeline is when you feel an unexplained pull towards something specific, a date, a location, or a decision. You may not fully understand why, but the feeling is persistent, almost like a quiet force nudging you forward. This pull doesn't come from pressure or fear. It feels more like curiosity mixed with certainty. A part of you knows that something important is connected to that moment or choice. Even if you try to ignore it, the thought keeps returning, reminding you that your next chapter is somehow tied to it. For example, you may feel called to visit a certain place, even if it's somewhere ordinary, a park, a cafe, a city you've never been to. Or you might sense that a particular date carries significance, and when it arrives, something meaningful happens: clarity, closure, a new opportunity, or a shift in emotion. Sometimes the pull is toward a decision, leaving a job, starting a project, having a conversation, or finally letting go of something that's been holding you back. This magnetic pull appears because your higher timeline is already active. Your spirit feels the path before your mind understands it. It guides you gently toward the experiences, connections, and breakthroughs that belong to the next version of your life. When you feel this pull, trust it. It's your intuition aligning you with the timeline where your potential, peace, and purpose are waiting. As you've seen, these signs aren't random. They're reminders that you're stepping into a new, more aligned version of yourself. Every shift you've been feeling is preparing you for a chapter that matches your growth, your truth, and your purpose. And even if the transition feels strange at times, remember this: you're not losing yourself, you're becoming the version you were always meant to be. Here on Cosmic Shift, I want you to know that your breakthrough is not far away. You're already moving toward it. Trust the changes, trust your intuition, and trust the timing that's unfolding for you right now. Before you go, I'd love to hear which sign resonated with you the most. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might help someone else feel less alone on their journey. And here's your affirmation for today. I am aligned, I am guided, and I am ready for my new timeline. Type that in the comments so you claim it, anchor it, and allow the universe to meet you where you are. Your shift has already begun, and I'm honored to walk this path with you.